Hello. Yeah, free training. You've obviously got the document here. Don't go read that yet. I'm hoping you're watching this training first, but you're just seeing me. Sorry, I'm just deleting a load of this. I've literally just been teaching our high performance mind group this exact topic for the most part, and I was like, man, this is going to be such a brilliant free training to give away, like a mini training. I'm going to try and keep it 15 minutes, because it's 15 minutes. I can't delve in. If you just seen the image I just had, it was a lot of stuff going on. I can't delve into everything, but however, on this document that it's part of, you're going to see I'm going to put some frameworks on there to help do some of this stuff so you can piece it together. There's also a link at the bottom. I've got to make you aware of that. That link at the bottom is a link to book a call one-to-one 20 minutes with myself or my business partner in High Performance Mind, Ben, who's an incredible coach as well. And that is only available on this document. And what that 20-minute acceleration call can be, it can be anything you want, really. But really, I've used it loads of times with people to help them map out 6-week action plans for themselves. Like, this is really important. Here's what, weekly steps you can take to go and implement this stuff. It's not a sales pitch, no sales call. That's not our style. People use it to say, hey, how can I work with you? We tell them, but we're not into that. We don't even take money on these calls. So it's literally 20 minutes. So I'd highly suggest you book it because we can really, really streamline this little training for you. But anyway, stress, burnout. Why are we looking at these two things? Well, really, when you think about it, I'm going to presume I'm talking to somebody who is got a demanding career, somebody who is has their own business, maybe an online entrepreneur, coach, whatever it may be. That's generally who we're sending trainers like this to. If not, feel free to watch anyway. But you're going to have a lot of stress in your life. Personally and professionally. And one of the biggest killers of performance in high performers is burnout. We're kind of walking that thin line between our energy. And I've shared this a million times, but burnout will crush your motivation. It will crush your enthusiasm. It will ruin your willpower. It will make you much more fearful of the future. It will cause you to be much more survival-based thinking. It will increase mind wandering. You won't be able to focus. Your creativity will plummet. And I would say 90% of the high performing people that come to work with me, seek me out on a one-to-one basis or a group basis, are people like, Si, I'm not performing where I want to. I've heard of the work you do for so-and-so. I'm frazzled. Stress is I just don't feel like myself mentally, in performance where I'm losing my edge. And the root cause of that will be burnout. I'm not going to do a whole training on burnout, but that will be. So number one, we're going to try and show you some ways to get away from that. Two is really performance in itself is like the subtle tweaking and handling of stress, because stress isn't bad. It's how we handle it, but also how we use it. It's seeking optimal arousal. It's not getting so burnt out, and frazzled that our performance suffers, but also it's not getting so underwhelmed and under aroused, so to speak, that we can't get up. God, this is getting worse. Get up for the task at hand. And so when it comes to mastering these two things, I'm going to give you a real cool model that we use and I absolutely love in our work. And I think we created this really. So it's a bit of a triangle. There we are. Let me try that again. Hey, that's not good, is it? There we go. And so what it is key one in all of handling stress, becoming immune to burnout, is capacity. That's what it is. We have to up our capacity. What is capacity? Well, it's a bit like a battery. I've shared this in many places. But it's like, hey, most of us, when our battery is low, physically, mentally, and emotionally, we have like a window for stress tolerance. And so say, that's our window. That's how much stress we can tolerate. And our stress levels, in fact, let's make it smaller. And our stress levels are, quite high. It doesn't take much in our day to peak outside of our threshold. And as we peak outside of our threshold, what happens? Stress, overwhelm, anxiety, poor performance, scattered focus. People seem to think that the more stressed, the more focused you'll be. Not true. That's why a lot of people go wrong with nootropics. If you use a lot of nootropics, which I'm a big fan of, but you don't use them effectively, you'll end up scattered focus as opposed to lasered in. It's the same with stress. It's not always the right amount of stress lasers you in. Too much makes you scatty, struggles to perform. Too little, the same. But most of us are trying to balance a million things professionally and personally. And because we're running on empty on this battery so much here, our window is so small that we can't cope with those little things that happen, and that throws us off. You can hear my dog here. If we increase our capacity, our window here, then all of a sudden, what used to stress us out doesn't. We can handle it. We can navigate it. It doesn't affect us. It doesn't dent us. And so we have to up our capacity, which brings us to that sort of second question, which is, well, how do I up my capacity? So I tell me, well, here's where we go into some stuff. And of course, I've been said everywhere. You may have heard me say this. The first key I'm going to draw up in the top right, transition to make it as a top performer, is to go from habits to modes. You can't keep stacking daily habits. I'm a big fan of topping up in the physical, mental, emotional category every day. Add something every day, physically, mentally, and emotionally. The trouble is, people are trying to use a Swiss Army knife of routines. The morning routine is trying to get hot work in, cold work in, which is great for recovery. I've got to focus, I've got to journal, I've got to meditate, I'll get everything aligned. And it's actually adding more to your day than's necessary. For a lot of people, it's increasing stress, not reducing it. And this becomes ineffective. Yes, we have to top up physically, mentally, and emotionally with our habits, and I'll cover that. But we also have to access modes, which I'll cover. That's the first strategic move to make. So when it comes to physical, mental, emotional topping up, you could say most people are going to have two routines, AM and PM. Now, the most important routine you can possibly have is actually this one here. It's PM, because sleep is the ultimate performance hack. The better you sleep, the better you'll perform in quality. Trust me. That's why when we're ill, a good night's sleep can help us out loads. When you're asleep, you kick out all sorts of rubbish that you don't need in your system. You heal, you consolidate memory. But if you've ever been underslept, I've got 2 young kids, so it's easy to get underslept, 1 and 4. You feel it. And people who undersleep are all sorts of risks for earlier death, etc., etc. But the most important routine anyone can have is a PM routine. And you may go, well, I've got one of these, great. We're going to move past it in a second. But it's like, well, what's a PM routine? Where you need a trigger, then you need some stuff, which that down arrow down regulates your nervous system. You need good sleep. Forget environment and all that. That's important, dark rooms, etc. But it's like, well, I need a trigger. It's like, how do I optimize myself for sleep? A trigger is something that you go, when I do that, it means bed. We've used things like set a bedtime alarm. Why? Because when it goes off, that's an alarm. Oh God, I've got to go to bed. Now you have to layer things on top of that alarm that reduce nervous system activity. 2 favorites can be people meditate, people read fiction books, something that reduces brain activity. A great one is journaling. Journaling will reduce the amount of information you carry around in your mind. And it's like, you want to journal things like your wins from the day, the things you want to happen tomorrow, anything that's on your mind, get it put down on paper, out of your brain. But it's meditation and journals ideal there. But I have a trigger. My routine would be herbal tea or hot water. And as soon as I do that, my brain knows, okay, it's time to go to bed. Because I've done it so many times, right? That's the trigger. Then it's on top of that, it's like, okay, immediately, I'm not going to bother doing anything other than a little bit of breathing, journal in bed, might read a bit of fiction, sleep. That's it. But the most important routine is a PM routine. You can do all sorts of stuff there. You can train your brain there, but we want to get good sleep. In the AM, if you're looking at capacity, it's like, well, I'm just trying to optimize myself physically, mentally, and emotionally. That's it. Again, if you want to do a 3-hour morning routine, go knock yourself out. It's not necessary for most people these days. It's like, how do I optimize myself physically? We used to teach a lot of basics like moving early in the morning, not training, but moving, hydrating, so you can say, okay, hydration and movement, really crucial. You could say, well, mentally, journal, meditate are 2 real staples. Emotionally, it can just be like good music if you love music. But we want to top up those accounts. How do I optimize myself emotionally? For me, it literally is I hydrate like crazy in the morning because that's massive for performance. I'll always meditate and journal. I do it separately. I meditate because I get the kids ready in the morning. So I'll meditate when that's kind of taken care of. I'll go to a cafe and journal. I have control of my own time. I'll do some specific stuff there and good music in my ears. I'm not going doing hot and cold, grinding and all that. But you may say, no, no, no. For me, grinding is really important. And this is a point to make. You may know none of this. You may go, God, I need some stuff. But some of you will know so much stuff that you've got to find what I call your anchors. Your anchors are crucial. Your anchors are like, what's something? An anchor is something, if you nail that, it holds you together. It's like glue. And so you can have daily ones where you might go, no, I need to move daily to get out for that walk. I feel great when I do that. Well, that's your physical one. Mentally, no, I just need to make sure, I get some thoughts down on paper. Okay, well, that's your mental one. Emotionally, I just need to make sure I spend, what makes you feel good emotionally in the morning. It can be, I just need to make sure I spend some time with my kids or my partner, or, I do a little hobby for 5 minutes. I might play piano, but I just like the easy thing of great music on. I love music. I'm passionate about music. It's like, what are your anchors? And you can also look at, while we're here, you may say, well, that's not a lot to do. Well, what's your weekly anchors? Physically, for me, it's the gym. I don't do the gym every morning because if I did the gym for 60 minutes in the morning and meditated, I'd be like 2 hours, 3 hours into my day. And then I'm going, I better get some work done. It's not going to happen. But 2 or 3 times a week, 3 or 4 times a week, I can hit the gym. Mentally, it's a hill walk over the hills with my dog, Milo, who's sat here waiting for his walk right now. Emotionally, it's like, okay, did I get time on my piano or time with the people I care about? But a lot of people are trying to cram them in every day. And it's stressing them out. It's like, I'll get all this in every day because it's really important to optimize myself. It's like, yeah, but no. Anchors. Oh, hang on, wrong thing. Anchors are the key. If you know your anchors weekly, you can plug them in, you save time. And so that's just basic capacity 101. What it does is, if you look at the battery, it just charges you up. Now, of course, I'm a big fan, let me just zoom out a bit more, of something called modes. I believe that all high performance, the key pillar, if I'm looking at that there, is modes. Modes are, how do I access modes when I need it? How do I really recover hard when I need to recover? How do I really learn to focus when I need to focus on my work? How do I switch off on demand? And things we teach people are recovery stacking, if you're looking at modes. And I'll tell you why they're so important. So we call it an RS. We teach people basics of focus mode and switching off, SO. They're 3 basics. We move beyond that. But recovery stacking is, well, people say, where's your hot and cold work, Si? Where's all the good stuff for that? Well, recovery stacking is a dose of recovery specifically in one go of an evening. So for me as a dad, I can get my kids down to bed and say, I'm going to recover tonight. And that can be physical. There's a little way of, in the document, I'm going to put a little example. So I'm going to hit hot and cold, 20-minute sauna, 5-minute cold. I'm going to meditate when I get back. I'm going to cook or eat my favorite meal or watch a bit of a film or listen to my album I want. Doesn't matter. I'm going to recover. No phone, nothing. I am recovering. I can do that in an evening, tag it onto my gym, and all of a sudden I'm recovering really effectively 2 or 3 times a week, as opposed to kind of a little bit each day down here, which people try and do when they cram it in. And so modes allow me, let's just highlight it because I'm into highlighting, obviously. There we are. Modes allow me to save time on my day, create more space, but also actually get a better result. And we teach these all the time. We call them stacks. We stack up elements here of things on top of each other that have a much more profound impact. When people come in our training, it's a staple. Like early on, it's like, we need to get you learn how to recovery stack. We supplement, we do all these different things, but we recovery stack. Focus mode, we're not going to talk about here, but it's something that's like, well, how do I access flow and focus on demand? That's a mode. Don't just turn up to work and think I'm going to work. It's like, I know I've got a 90-minute block and I can access flow, 500% increase in my performance when I access flow. And there's a system to access flow. There's a system to switching off. One of the biggest factors in burnout is never switching off, always being on, always stressed. We've got to learn to turn that off. We do that with switch off triggers. You can book a call and I can talk to you about these, or Ben can, and we can give you some examples. On the document, if you're looking at capacity, we've got AM, PM, anchors, and modes. That's what's going to be on your document for you to have a look at. So capacity is crucial. The second thing that contributes to stress is stressors. Here, down here. Yes. Let me zoom in. Stressors. We have to take care of the stressors in our life. If you are filling up your capacity, and here you are, I'll just draw you quickly. And like, here's me in my bubble of ultra capacity. Milo, stop itching. And then there's things that are stressing me from the outside. Maybe it's my money worries. Maybe it's my work worries. Maybe it's my relationship worries. And it's this constant, real problem. I have to solve it. Maybe it's a physical thing that's always stressing me out. You can say that's not external, but it kind of is. Like, those things are going to keep battering you and hitting away at you unless you solve them, right? And we call those an unbreakable, here, the real hard. We don't mean they're really hard. What I mean by that is people set goals often, and it's like, well, I'm going to work on this, this, and this, but they don't deal with that because that's really hard. But if you want less stress, then you have to take out the chronic stresses in your life. And that's the long-term plan, right? Hey, you got to work on that. And but I have to mention it, it's a huge factor in stress because it's chronic, eating away at you. But then point B is something you can do every week, which is the open loops. My writing's got a bit lax there, apologies. Open loops are the things in your mind. They are commonly a couple of things. They are decisions you haven't made that you need to. They are unfinished projects. They are ideas you haven't acted on. So every week, here's a tip for you. Something I like to do on a Monday. I sometimes do it midweek. Sometimes I do it daily. There's a lot on my mind. I get a journal. I write down everything that's on my mind. Every decision I haven't made that I need to. All the unfinished things that I haven't got finished. All the ideas that I've got floating around in my head. I decide, well, a couple of things. I decide what I'm going to do and when I'm going to do it. And if I can act on it straight away, I will. Sometimes it's those emails, those little things. Just do them. So I decide, or I delegate if I can to somebody, or I do. Like literally there and then. So I'm either deciding, making a decision, and then putting it in the calendar, or I'm delegating it somebody else, or I'm doing it. Like, I'm going to do that. Now that's brought me so much mental space. I'll tell you why, but also results, because I'm acting on ideas, I'm making decisions, and it's reducing what we call cognitive load. Huge factor of stress is cognitive load. Now, cognitive load, let me just draw this here, I'll draw it here. If you imagine that as a capacity, your brain, cognitive load is how much information you're storing in it. Now, most of us are swimming in information in our brain. Now, that is a blocker of performance. Your brain is for creating and doing, not storing information, but it's also a huge contributor to stress, having all that overwhelm kicking around. So what we do when we actually do this task is we don't remove the whole container. We reduce cognitive load. And we're trying to do that all the time with people, reduce cognitive load to reduce overwhelm. And so if you're looking at pillar 2, it's like, okay, we've got to deal with stressors. Now, pillar 3, to keep this quick, is perspective. Pretty much all stress is perspective. What do I mean by that? I mean, what you believe, let's have a look at this. What you believe will cause stress. If you believe things about you and your life and people and your possibilities and your future that are causing you stress, they will always cause you stress. Nothing in life is inherently stressful outside of us. It's how we view it. Now, that comes down to what we call meaning creation. Now, we can all forge better beliefs and meanings and look at things differently. It's so important. The way you view your life and yourself can be a cause of stress or a reducer of it, trust me. And that's a mindset thing that we want to work on consistently. The second thing is huge one, past experience, PE. Every moment of the day, your past experience is driving how you view the world. Your body has roughly 300 to 500 stored bits of past experience, from micro to macro trauma. It can be that time you failed, that time you got it wrong. And very often we're looking at life through the lens of past experience. And that past experience was a stressful one, a traumatic one, an angry one, a fearful one, whatever it may be. And then we're projecting that onto what's in front of us. It's why a lot of us don't make decisions, don't do things. It's why we don't act on things. It's why life looks so stressful, because we're always projecting painful past experiences or stressful past experiences onto that. And we have to learn to remove that. And that's a bit of a hierarchy. You've got to start with capacity. Like, you just have to. You have to sort of go, okay, if we're going to highlight this, capacity is king. It's the basics. I spent a lot of time on it because it's the main part of the document. You've got to move past daily things, forge your daily routines a bit better, focus more on modes up here, the weekly thing. Like, modes are the crucial thing, all right? Secondly, though, and get clear on your anchors. You may say, well, actually, the second thing is stressors. And it's like, okay, again, it's like, one thing you can do is work on the actual hard thing in your life. But short term, it's like, you've got to be closing open loops almost daily, at least weekly. That little exercise will be a game changer, trust me. And then thirdly, if I can find something that can be green, there we are. It's like, well, perspective. Perspective is a massive driver of stress and burnout. And it's past experience. We help people release. It's not therapy that does that. It's practical things, neurofeedback, etc., that help you process past experience. But also, challenging what you believe. That's good coaching, really. Now, if you can do those three things in order, if you can increase your capacity, if you can deal with the stressors, and if you can improve your perspective, let go of past experiences, wow, you are on fire when it comes to stress. Your capacity is huge, and you are not going to be reactive. You're going to thrive. And I realize I've been longer than anticipated here, but I'm going to try and give you as much value as possible. Now, last but not least, what we do in High Performance Mind, what we do, but the three pillars that I believe that are so important are that first one, a pillar, modes. You have to switch from the daily habits that everyone's crunching out every day, and they become a drain, to modes. Accessing modes will change your life. I've done a whole webinar on that. The second thing is, oh, hello, that was terrible. If we're looking at the circles, you've got to get clear on a useful mission. That'll be a stress driver in itself. If you're not clear on what you want out of life, how to get it, if you're not clear on that ultimate mission you have, you're going to be stressed anyway, because having a clear view of the future and an effective mission, not just separate goals, body goal, personal goal, like actual a vision, a 360 vision of life that all fits nicely. When you have that, that is a game changer as well. Trust me, it's having that. And we teach something called the vision and mission stack, which is really effective on that. And the third thing is, again, is mindset. And whenever I look at coaching, I'm like, well, there's either a mode issue. People don't access modes. No one talks about it. It's just all more habits, more routines. Are they clear on their vision, their mission? And is there a mindset issue? Is it what they believe? Is it past experience? Now, if you can align those up, like this Venn diagram drawn very badly, but you hit that sweet spot where you go, okay, that is high performance. Now, we've just covered a fraction of stress, right? But I wanted to make you kind of aware of the bigger picture. When I look at that, if you can plug some of this stuff in, and on your document initially, it's just got this stuff here, which is, hey, some AM, PM stuff, and a bit of a recovery stack. Book that call with us. We can walk you through some stuff specific for you. Definitely execute the stressor open loop thing. We haven't got, the bandwidth really in a mini training to cover past experience and all that, but it's certainly worth being aware that's driving your stress levels a lot. Okay. But I hope this has been helpful. The document will lay out some stuff for you. If this is like, man, this sounds really interesting. This is some basic stuff, obviously, and you want to take this on a bit further, book that 20-minute accelerator call. Me or Ben will walk you through some action plans, walk you through some next steps. if you'd love to delve into one of these things a bit, book one of those calls. There's no pressure, there's no sales, it's not our style. We just go, hey, here's some value. We love meeting people, making connections. So a bit longer than anticipated, but check out that document, book a call. It's only available on this document, and get back to me, drop me a line. Let me know what you got from this. I always love hearing what people get from it. All right.